Anytime there is information that indicates that any country has messed with American elections, we not only have a right but a duty to make sure we chase that down.
But the big news of the day is that House Democrats are taking the next big step on impeachment. The chair of the Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler, announced today that his committee will begin action on impeachment with its first big hearing next Wednesday. That's a week from now. That came in a letter Nadler sent to the president inviting Trump to defend himself in hearings with his counsel present. It comes as the president's men, all of whom have refused to testify, became further embroiled in the unfolding scandal. In a press conference today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo would not refute the fiction that it was Ukraine, not Russia, that hacked the 2016 election. And that's the same debunked conspiracy theory that Trump asked Ukrainian President Zelensky to investigate in that infamous July 25th phone call. Unbelievably, Pompeo said that the U.S. should investigate that discredited claim of Ukrainian interference, lending credibility to the president's false narrative. Here.
Do you believe that the U.S. and Ukraine should investigate the theory that it was Ukraine and not Russia that hacked the DNC emails in 2016?
Anytime there is information that indicates that any country has messed with American elections, we not only have a right but a duty to make sure we chase that down. So whatever nation it is, that we have information that so much as suggests that there might have been interference or an effort to interfere in our elections, we have an obligation to make sure that the American people get to go to the ballot box, cast their ballots in a way that is unimpacted by these malevolent actors trying to undermine our Western democratic values.
Well, the word isn't duty, it's toady, sir. You're a toady. Pompeo is embracing that discredited narrative after we learned it's a fact. It was a product of Russian intelligence, which deployed a network of agents to blame Ukraine for its 2016 interference. In other words, the American Secretary of State right there is giving credence to a disinformation campaign being run out of the Kremlin. Never seen anything like it. I'm joined right now by Ashley Parker, White House reporter for The Washington Post. Ned Price, former senior director at the NSC, and Malcolm Nance, former naval intelligence officer and author of The Plot to Betray America. There it is. In another breaking story just moments ago, the New York Times revealed that President Trump had already been briefed on a whistleblower's complaint, the whistleblower's complaint, about his dealings with Ukraine when he unfroze the military aid for the country in September. That means that Trump was well aware that he was being accused of wrongdoing when he released the aid and when he denied a quid pro quo to Ambassador Sondland. Let me go to Ashley Parker on this. Ashley, this is a Times story, but what does this mean?
I mean, it just adds another detail to this rapidly unfolding story, but it's that one thing the White House and the president's allies have always said is that there's nothing untoward, there's no quid pro quo because the president ultimately released the aid. This now shows perhaps that the reason he released the aid was because he knew he was in trouble. He knew there was a whistleblower complaint coming, and that is what prompted him, and it wasn't quite the picture they're painting that he put a hold on the aid, but of course he was always going to release it. It doesn't mean that is why, but it certainly raises the very plausible question that he had to be prompted by a whistleblower complaint and a congressional investigation.
Ned, this is the argument made by the Democrats on the House Intel Committee. He was caught.
He was caught.
That's when I gave back the money.
It's as simple as that. And I think there was a confluence of these two things that Trump knew he was going to be in a political vice, if not a legal vice. It was news of this whistleblower complaint. And I often think we forget this, but Congress put these data points, some of these data points at least, together itself. And on September 9th, announced the start of an investigation into Giuliani's meddling in Ukraine, tied in with the whole withholding of this aid. They didn't know all that we know now, but it's clear that they were at least onto pieces of this. But this is really a pattern we've seen throughout this administration, Chris. They don't act until they're caught. Remember Mike Flynn, Trump's first national security advisor? He wasn't fired until he was caught by the Washington Post in his lies after 24 days. Same with Stormy Daniels. Trump at first denied it, and then he was caught. And ultimately, his lawyer fessed up, and then they fessed up on FEC paperwork, and now we're seeing it with this. It's a pattern that has played out time and again in this administration.
You know, Malcolm, it looks to me like today, there's so much news today. We've got the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, there clawing away, trying to sell the president's argument. It was Ukraine, pushing that on the same day that John Kennedy, the senator from New Orleans, from Louisiana, admitting that he was not telling the truth the other day when he said it was Ukraine. But there seems to be like it's a war of attrition. How long is it going to take to stop them from lying? That's really the blunt fact here. Malcolm.
Well, what you see happening right now is an information warfare technique. It is a disinformation operation that they have sat down and thought about. This isn't happening that everyone's speaking about it spontaneously using the exact same words. They are using this meta-narrative for their constituency, the Fox News consumer, that Ukraine did this, and even knowing this is a Russian intelligence-developed theme, which Fiona Hill gave us a brilliant warning about last week, saying that they were spreading Russian disinformation deliberately, it gets their ultimate client off the hook. And you would think that would be Donald Trump, but it in fact is Vladimir Putin. They are actually shilling for Vladimir Putin to make it look like Ukraine did this. I have one way that we can start this. We are just going to have to categorize these people who are denying this as Trump-Russia truthers. I mean, this is like people who deny the moon landing or September 11th.
Sure.
It's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, I want to get to Ashley on this question. Ashley, I mentioned the fact that John Kennedy, the Republican senator from Louisiana, recanted, that sounds rather biblical, but he recanted his false assertion that Ukraine might have carried out the hacking of the DNC. And here's what Senator Kennedy of Louisiana said yesterday, actually said on Sunday to start this saga.
Senator Kennedy, who do you believe was responsible for hacking the DNC and Clinton campaign computers, their emails? Was it Russia or Ukraine?
I don't know, nor do you, nor do any of us.
Well, that's not true, because Kennedy admitted last night, to his credit, I believe, that he was wrong, saying he misheard the question from Chris Wallace. Let's watch him. Go at it.
Now, Chris is right. I was wrong. The only evidence I have, and I think it's overwhelming, is that it was Russia who tried to hack the DNC computer.
That's what the consensus is.
I've seen no indication that Ukraine tried to do it.
Actually, I'm not a media critic, but it's fascinating, isn't it, that he said what isn't true on Fox, then he corrected it on CNN. There's an interesting point. But I want to get to you on the bigger question. The train is moving. Next Wednesday, they're beginning the action in the House Judiciary. It seems to me they will have plenty of time in that 3-week period beginning next Monday and Tuesday to get this thing done, to get articles to the floor.
Yeah, they're trying to move very quickly, and you're seeing that even in the House Intelligence Committee. There's a favorable ruling with Don McGahn that he could testify, but what you are seeing is they are keeping the focus, as Leader Pelosi wanted, very narrow, and they are moving quickly ahead. That's why they are moving it over to the House Judiciary Committee, and they hope to have a vote potentially before the Christmas holiday. The Democrats, it has not always been an easy issue for them, but they have been incredibly disciplined on this, and that's what we're seeing in this very quick time frame.
Why is it working? I mean, the Democratic Party has a lot of interesting political personalities in it, from the very left, if you will, the very progressive wing, Maxine Waters, for example, some of the newer members, AOC, and you go over to somewhat more moderate people, over to more established members, more like Pelosi and her people that she grew up with politically. How is she reining the people in? How is she keeping them so together, historically together, in this campaign to bring the president to justice?
Well, that is Pelosi's skill as a leader. She can count votes. She knows where her caucus is. And the one thing she said going forward was that this inquiry would have to have bipartisan support. That seems, as of now, not likely to be the case. But one thing you are hearing echoed from all Democrats as more information comes out is this isn't an issue of them, they say, about politics. It's one of morality and the Constitution and what they will tell their grandchildren. And so in that manner, she's sort of been able to push them towards this outcome that the left wing of the party was pulling them towards, while giving them a rationale that they all seem to feel comfortable with, even though it doesn't have much, if any, Republican support right now.
Malcolm, you're up there, and I can see the cityscape of Philadelphia behind you, a familiar, likable setting for me. But it seems like the people in the Collier counties up there, like Madeleine Dean, I saw an hour or so on TV here on MS, they seem very comfortable with this effort right now led by Pelosi to bring this president to justice, to impeach him.
And I think you're absolutely right. But in the alternate universe, that is another channel, all evening I've been seeing people tweet that the Democrats are backing off of impeachment and that 30%, they've lost 30% support. You know, the Democrats are keeping their effort strong and straight and and focused, and as it exactly should be, because they are following the constitutional norms and trying to maintain the dignity of this process and be factual. But they are going up against opponents who do not believe that they are even on the same planet and that this process is completely falling apart. And that meta-narrative, as we keep saying, works for them, and it will work for their Senate acquittal to a certain extent.
Ned, give me some psychohistory here, because I understand why people out there, I know them, one's in my family. I know people that are pro-Trump and never quitters. They're just with Trump. But they're civilians, if you will. Why do people like Pompeo, who's certainly a smart person, why is he hooking his cart in the history books? In the history books, whenever he runs for the Senate or wherever, he will go down in history. His capsule statement, his obit, will be Trump. Why are they doing this? They're smarter than Trump on this stuff, and they might be better morally than him.
Look, Pompeo is not thinking of Trump first and foremost. He's thinking of one person, himself. Obviously, he has grander political ambitions. He wants to go on to the Senate in Kansas and potentially onward from that.
As a Trumpy.
As a Trumpy. But right now, he sees Trump as a vehicle, as a vessel. He sees Trump as the only person to whom he can attach himself to remain in good political bases with this base, in good political graces, with this base that he needs. We've seen the same from Nikki Haley. We've seen the same from any number of senators. We've seen the same from Jeff Sessions, who, of course, had a tumultuous relationship with President Trump when he was his attorney general. I think this will remain the case until and unless the president becomes so politically toxic. But he's not with the base these people need. Yeah. Until that day comes, I think you will see them attached at the hip. But as soon as that day nears, I think you will see them run so far and so fast in the other direction that they'll forget his name.
Well, did I hear you, Malcolm, with that sound? What did you mean by that sound? Like, I can't leave you there.
I've seen a lot of phenomenon in my life. I've seen a lot of operations. The behaviors that I'm seeing here, and this is anecdotal, are very similar to the way that ISIS members are. They are true believers, and this is their reality, and they will not surrender it. They're dead enders.
Well, I'm glad to see John Kennedy, a nice name, by the way, to have for your career down in Louisiana, a Republican, a conservative, said today, I'm not on the train anymore. He basically said, I will not argue the Kremlin line that it was Ukraine that hacked the DNC server. I don't believe it's sitting over there somewhere in Kiev. I mean, he did show something today, something good, I think. Ashley Parker, congratulations on your monitoring of that debate the other night. That was first-rate work for a print guy. And you're really something to jump into that seat up there. That was great work. Thank you. You made us all proud. Ned Price, sir, thank you. Edward Price. I know your real name. Anyway, Malcolm, I love your attitude. As we say in Philly, attitude. You got it. Thank you for coming on tonight.